we bring to you a Cat Bug special on the costuming panel at the Albany Comic Con.
And you're now on duty.
Yes.
We'll start.
Why?
We'll start left to right for everything.
Alright, so we'll start off just doing introductions. My name is Jen Wicks, and I'm the current president of U&Y Cosplay. We're a costuming group based out of Troy. We do primarily video games, anime, and a lot of stuff from pop culture now too. Movies, comic books, so on and so forth.
I'm Nikki Blum. I'm here representing the upstate New York chapter of the 501st Legion. I'm also a member of the Rebel Legion, which does all good guy costumes versus 501st Legion just bad guy costumes.
I'm Bob Chrisman. I was just saying that I'm multi-faceted, multi-having today. I'm a member of the 501st. I'm a council member on the Mandalorian Mercs. I am the chapter representative of the Binghamton Fan Force.
And I'm Dan Westbrook. I am the Olariad, or leader of the New York-based clan for the Mandalorian Mercs.
We introduce our imposing looking guards.
Well, that's a Vody Falco. He is one of the members of the Mando Mercs. And on this side is R.S. Falco. He is also a member of the Mandalorian Mercs.
Good. So don't start anything.
We had a question of the secretary.
Oh, no. Actually, I was going to say there's also one other group here, too, being represented. I've got my own little group on Facebook called the Gotham Department of Transportation. Yep.
Awesome. You guys must have more trouble with all the supervillains running around the highways.
Oh, yeah. You know how that goes.
But we're here today to mostly talk about costume creation, prop creation, answer any questions you guys may have, whether it be beginning level or you've done costumes for years. We brought a couple of our own props. Do you want to start by maybe talking about what we brought, just to kind of go through the spiel? Well, my costume is Castor from Tron Legacy, the film that came out last year, sequel to the original Tron. And I did the costume because I thought the character was just fabulous. I couldn't resist it. One kind of standout thing about the character is that he had a glowing cane. He's a nightclub owner. He's got this great kind of suave thing going. So what I did was try to look for kind of an easy way to do it. I went to Home Depot and bought a clear plastic tube that usually you put fluorescent lights in, and then I used a frosting paint to kind of diffuse the light. And there's just flashlights in the end. So that way you can turn it off, turn it on. Very, very simple, very, very easy. Very cheap. All Home Depot stuff, just a little bit of paint. I know in the film they had a big rod of acrylic that they melted and curved and put crazy lights in. And I didn't quite have the resources for that, so I did this instead. And then my second piece, in the universe of Tron, all the characters have these discs on their back that kind of hold all their information, and they use them to fight. And Spin Masters did a great little toy replica of the characters' discs, and it looked really great. It was a good size, but it was really a toy. You push a button, it would blink, it would make noise, and it would kind of go like you played with it. So what I did was take all the guts out of the toy. It was airbrushed white because it came in black, and then used electroluminescent wire and ran it through here, through a plastic tube that I also frosted, and so you can see the back. And there's a little bit of wire hanging out in the back, so you can see that it's very, very bright. And the wire itself is just connected to a 9-volt and a driver that's hidden in my costume, and it has 2 modes. It can actually flash, which is kind of probably bad if you're in the Tron world, but neat otherwise. Or you can just turn it off, very easy. And these EL wire kits are about $15, and they come all together, so you don't need to do any soldering if you don't have the resources for that. So, those are my toys.
I just brought one of our, actually it's our biker scout who's out there. This is one of his next costumes that he's working on. So I got his hunter helmet to show off. We have some other props that were out at the first day as well.
I guess I got a whole smattering here, so I should go through these. They gave me a lot to go through. Up front here, we have a guy in our group. His name's Ivan Falco on the Falco boards, and he is the king of props. I don't know how to explain it. Any props we've done in Binghamton, David's probably done it or had a hand in it or pushed us towards doing it. Like, hey, that looks cool, do it. So I'll explain what this is. It says Ivan Kier took part in a Falco clan raid on the junk shop once owned by the Toydarian Watto. After the most Espo location was secured, his scans picked up an unusual energy reading coming from a nondescript shipping container. After transporting it back to his ship, Ivan Kier would discover one of Anakin Skywalker's childhood creations, an interstellar communications array, very well hidden from years upon years sure enough from Watto at the time. So we had some fun putting this thing together. I'll give you some of the parts that are in there, and if you come up at the end, you can kind of see if you can find them. It's kind of like a Where's Waldo of prop building. It's a lot of fun to kind of look at it and go, oh, I know what that is. There's a 1930s shortwave radio in there. There's a radiant electric heater, a vintage mic, a vintage switchboard operator headphones. This is a good one. Light bright screens covered with Mylar. You'd be amazed at what that does. Various vacuum tubes, projector bulbs, actually Play-Doh containers, a dog chew toy, no joke, DP500 circuit board, vintage car horn, a HEPA filter, a leaf blower motor cover, a hard drive circuit board, and a saran dispenser spindle. So as you leave, you can take a look at that and see if you can find all those little things. It's amazing when you look at these things. David's the type, he was here last year, for those who were at this panel last year, that he'll drive down the street, and actually he and his wife and I were just talking about this, and he'll like all of a sudden the car just goes slam. And we drive back and he's like, that could be a bubble guy. And I'm like, how do you see this stuff? And he's an artistic mind. Unfortunately he couldn't be here with us today. I felt bad he couldn't. But he's definitely the proponent for our props for the Falco clan. We put out some other things that we have. We have a Voidy's rifle here. This was actually a 22, right? Mm-hmm. That a Voidy had that didn't work anymore, and he was like, I want to make it a rifle. And, so we cut off the end, and it was like, all right, that looks cool, but it's not enough. And I actually happened to be looking at it, and I was playing around, just goofing around with it. And the top section of the front is actually on a spindle on a microphone stand when you unroll it. And I just kind of went like that and said, oh, look, it looks cool. And it ended up being his rifle. We do little things too, like I created, I was trying to make my sniper rifle weighty. I have a sniper rifle for my Mando. And one of the ways I did it was I found some, what we were calling phaser bullets for my sniper, and they're actually concrete anchors that we painted and filled in the gap for the concrete anchor, and just made them look rather science fiction-y and cool. And those are kind of fun to play around with, and come on up at some point too and grab the weight on those, because I now have about 40 of them in my rifle. It takes a plastic rifle and gives it a real a gun feel to it. This is actually, and this is I guess I should say this because the Mando Mercs are made fun of and also revered for this. We love our Nerf guns, and we can take pretty much any Nerf gun and just hack the heck out of the thing. This is actually a CS6, the Raiders. Hacked the backside off of it, hacked the front off, put a new tube on the front. We didn't like the actual spindle on the inside, so we basically pushed that thing out. Went and found a toy spindle that did the same thing. Bottle cap that we found that looked really cool. And then the whole bottom section is actually off a video camera, if I'm right? Yeah. He took a video camera, popped the lens out, popped that on there, and made it look completely different. I brought my TIE pilot helmet just to kind of show that even the little things that you don't think about. We were looking around this. I had my TIE pilot done for quite a while, and I was like, can't find the hoses, can't find the hoses. I always got an order from a guy, like 20 bucks a pop per hose, and I'm like, man, $40 for hoses, that just seems extreme. So David and I happened to be walking in Walmart, and I like stopped at the vacuum aisle, and it was actually a Dirt Devil shop vac, happened to be using the exact same type of tubing that's been used for the TIE pilot. So I was going to buy the Dirt Devil shop vac, but my wife wouldn't let me. It was a $20 shop vac. No. So I went home and called Dirt Devil, and he sent me the tube for 15 bucks. So I was like, good enough for me. $40 just went to 15. So, it's always amazing when you're looking around for things. If you're patient enough, it will come to you instead of being like, I gotta do it now. Take some time, do it, and you'd be amazed at what comes to you when you're looking around. I think that's all our thoughts.
You mentioned the Nerf gun thing. That
Yes.
reminded me. Does anybody know the show Terra Nova that came on recently?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
They love Nerf guns too.
Yes, I've been saying they should say Terra Nova sponsored by Nerf.
A lot of science fiction-y guns, and sometimes it's the restrictions that come. I know they're shooting in Australia.
Yeah, they
I think
are.
there's
Yeah.
really tough gun laws there.
Yes.
But yeah, they use a lot of
Yeah,
Those guns that you just spray paint black and
yeah, if you look at their, I
They're like, oh.
mean, Terra Nova is even worse because they don't even take the Nerf logo off. I'm not joking. If you look really closely, when they're running around, you can actually see the Nerf logo. I mean, we actually have a rule in the merch. You have to at least take the logo off. You have to paint it. You have to add gack to it, make it look not like a Nerf gun. But yeah, that was really
Maybe we play between takes.
right. Yeah.
That and sci-fi novels. A lot of the times, sci-fi novels that use photographs on the cover, people with their guns posing. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And once you tune your eye to start looking at those things, you're like, oh, wait a minute, that looks kind of familiar.
Yep.
Do you have questions from anybody about stuff? Someone's got to break the ice.
Go ahead.
How do you make the bounty hunter mask and body armor the bounty hunters use?
You want to delve into that?
Sure. Mainly with the Mandalorians, we use them all different types of items. I mean, like with Arlus's armor here, I mean, that's just trash cans from Walmart. You know, we have templates that you can find on our forums that you can print out. A Dremel, a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, and you know, you can just Dremel it out and sand it and then heat it up with a heat gun, or you can use an oven, boiling water. People have used, metal, either from, aluminum that they have just lying around in old cars.
This is metal.
Yep. From
It's a hood.
Yep,
Yeah.
from a little car.
Yeah, part of the car.
Other guys, have forges in their backyards, they hammer it out themselves, they're crazy.
So they have too much time.
Yes, they do. We have guys who have used, old computer cases. It's stuff that you just kind of look at it and go, what can I do with this? Is more or less, usually we use plastic called Sintra. And you can get it in different thicknesses. We usually go with 3mm.
If you've never heard of Sintra before, it's also called rolled PVC. So it's instead of PVC coming out in a tube, it actually can come out flat. That's actually how it comes out of the factory floor. And you can get it in sheets. The best place I know to get it, and yes, no, I'm actually advocating for them again, US Plastics. If you go on Google and just Google US Plastics, they're like my go-to place now. Actually, I get garbage cans from them. I get my PVC from them. Sintra is probably the one thing I get from them the most. It's like $20 a sheet, right? 4x4 foot sheet. And you'd be amazed. So we can get about 3 to 4 sets of armor out of that, depending on which kit you're doing. And it's not that expensive to even get, really hefty Sintra to work with. It's really not expensive to do. A heat gun, I really suggest a heat gun. Yeah, it will kill your gun once in a while. Everybody says, heat it up in the oven. I'll tell you right now, it'll make your oven smell like snot for the next year. I did it to my wife and she hated me. Everything tasted like Sintra for a year. It was wonderful. Every casserole just tasted great with a little bit of, and you also don't want to use boiling water because, quite honestly, I use boiling water. It's ineffectual because you put it in there, it gets really hot, you pull it out, you got to manipulate it. It's too hot to manipulate. And then if you go to use welder's gloves, then it's too, you don't have enough strength through the glove. So the heat gun has been my source of use.
Because you can direct the heat where you want.
Right. You also have a little more control when you do the heat gun. You know exactly where you can heat and where you can't.
Sintra's great for helmets.
Yeah.
I know my next project requires good old Loki from Thor, requires very impressive horns. I'm like, what am I going to make that out of that isn't going to A, break your neck, or B, be impossible to work with? And Sintra is just that, because it's very, very flexible. And so people have done some gorgeous helmet work with it. And helmets can be difficult because of the curves and the contours. It's hard to get that out of a lot of materials. But I'm looking forward to using Sintra. I'm glad you mentioned it. US Plastics has it.
US Plastics.
That's where we'll be looking for it.
Yeah, one of our guys uses the Sintra, and he says if it doesn't go right, you just heat it out and flatten it out, and then you can reshape it.
Do it again, yeah.
You don't
Exactly.
waste it then.
Yep.
And the other thing I found with Sintra too, everybody's afraid to play around with it after it's been painted. And actually I found with Sintra, you can, and the paint will not chip off. You can actually heat it and flex it with the paint on there. Most other materials, the paint will just come right off while you're working with it. Sintra, for whatever reason, man, the paint just slides with it. Going back to your question too about the buckets, it all depends on how much you want to spend on the bucket. Yours was quite a bit, right?
175.
175. Now his was a custom made. It's called an Assassin. Actually, I like this helmet. I curse it and I love it all at once because it's got the little tear ducts on the side. I love that look. I curse it because making a T-visor for it is an absolute pain in the shebs. Yeah. Yeah, and that was like my worst nightmare, making a T-visor for that one. And then I mean, you could go as low as artists here. And artists, you mind taking your off a minute? Because I'm going to brag a little bit. Oh, no, sorry. This is actually a Hasbro bucket you can buy in the store that I went through and did a tutorial online how to take this bucket and mod it. It really doesn't require a lot. It just takes some patience on your part. I used some materials that probably have never been used on bucket mods before. It happened to be I was in my house like goofing around with things going, what materials could I use to make this work? And I happened to find some caulk in my house. Like I had 3 tubes of caulk. I'm like, what am I ever going to use caulk again? So I started goofing around. And actually what I did basically was I used it like an artist would use it. I put the caulk in, I wet my finger down, I rubbed through the surfaces that I didn't want to be exposed, and all the seams, everything got caulked. The great thing about caulk is it's sealable. Once it dries, it's hard, it remains hard, and you can paint it. So it was like a kind of a win-win-win. And I started doing these, and the more I started getting into them, the better they started to get. And I think yours is about the 20th helmet I've done now. So I think about $20 of modding. So you buy a helmet for 15, 20 bucks now at Walmart because they're trying to dump them because nobody wants them anymore because they're trying to come out with a new line of helmets. And $20 with your own, work and grease, and you get a nice looking helmet. So again, it depends on how much you're willing to spend, how much time and effort you're willing to put in.
And what your skill level is on top of that.
Yeah, and your skill level, you have to be able to understand how to do it.
I gotta say, I love the vacuum tube story. Saying you're walking around the store. That's sort of a mentality that you click into after you're doing costumes so well. You'll be at the store, walking around, and you'll see something that to someone will look like something you can never use. And I did a costume recently, and there was like a flower headpiece of a lotus flower. I'm like, well, you see the glass ones at craft stores, and then there are fabric ones, but and a friend of mine brought over a plastic artichoke, and she gleefully handed me a bag of plastic artichokes and went, here you go. And I'm like, what is this? And it turns out that the artichoke can look just like a lotus if you take out the core of it. And I painted it the right colors and lightened it up, and it was a light foam. And it looked great. And it's little things like that where you're at the store and you collect, you see a vacuum tube or you see a Nerf gun that could work. And then you get completely addicted. And then you're scouring Home Depot and it comes to a new playground and you're looking at PVC bits and trying to play with things.
You end up with half a house full of bits and parts and yeah.
Don't blame me, sir. Don't blame me.
Sounds like my house already.
I would never do any such thing.
If you're sitting on top of that, it becomes crazy.
No, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, and also Jan's got online, he did YouTube videos for armor, along with this helmet thing.
Yeah, we've for the Falco clan, we've done tutorials online if you want to go check them out about how to actually form the Sintra. Do as I say, don't do as I do. The video is great, just don't look at the background. My shop's messy. But it was a great way for us to show everybody how to do everything, and it doesn't work just for Mandalorian armor. If you can kind of think it up in your head and make it work, it can happen. I've had people recently came to me. Actually, if you saw Lincoln, his wife that was out there, his wife came to me and she's like, "I need shoulder armor, but I don't know how to do it." I was like, "Oh boy, okay." So what I do a lot of times, if you're gonna do that, make a paper version first. It's the cheapest way to go about it. Use cardstock. Do a 3D dimensional thing of the cardstock. Make sure that's going to work, because if you can't do it in cardstock, it's not going to work with whatever material you're using. Then I make a template out of that cardstock, and then I go to the Sintra and I cut it to that template and then form it and shape it. And again, the great thing about the heat gun is if it's not right, heat it up, shape it, reform it, move it back to where you need to. So, I'm taking over, I'm sorry.
We've all had long day.
Yes.
You talked about the heat gun. Like, is there any other key tools that would be useful in designing costumes?
Me?
Dremel.
Yeah, me personally.
Dremel.
Yeah, my other favorite love in the world is a rotary tool. The Dremel name brand. How many have I gone through now? 8.
You will kill them if you do a lot of work.
Yeah.
You will kill them, yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much cleaning you do to them, how much you, yeah, for some reason, man, I kill them like no tomorrow. I kept saying to my wife I should invest in Dremel first before I start buying the tools, but
Two are my fault.
yes, 2 are your fault deciding to buy 1.5" Sintra. Don't ever cut 1.5" Sintra with a Dremel. It's a really bad idea. You'll sit there for hours and you'll hate yourself in the end. Just go to a bandsaw. Find somebody with a bandsaw and let them cut it. You know, certain materials it's great for, and you know, for most of the stuff we're using, Dremel works great. You know, if you start going to thicker stuff, you got to start looking at heavier materials. You don't want a Dremel 1.5" Sintra. You know, metallic stuff, I would never even dream of Dremel in that stuff. It would just be your worst nightmare. You know, in that case, you are going to want to find somebody with a decent metallic, you know, metal bladed bandsaw of some sort. Trying to think of what other tools. I mean, for me personally, my solder gun's my other third weapon that I use. You know, hot glue and solder fix anything and everything for me. You know, I solder like no tomorrow, but only because as I like to tell my clan, I love blinky flashy. You know, it's never enough blinky flashy. If it doesn't look great, add more blinky flashes, it's gonna look better. You know, I love electronics and stuff like this with the EL wire. I love getting into that
EL
stuff.
wire is
It's like the next great thing, I swear.
so fun, yeah.
Yeah. You know, and it's come down in price a lot too. You know, it used to be when I started this, EL wire was like, what was it, like $50 a foot? I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Now you can buy like kits like this for 20 bucks.
There's actually 5 feet packed in there. I didn't
Right.
feel like cutting it because I'm going to be doing a 2.0, the custom where everything lights up.
Right.
You get 5 feet of it plus the driver for, I think with shipping was $20.
Yeah.
So, and you can cut it too to whatever length you need, and then you can even resolder the extras to another driver. And this has 2 ports to it, so I could have a second string of wire coming off of it. So it is really, really
It's
friendly.
brilliant stuff. I
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
great stuff. Any color in the world, so really beautiful.
But that would be my suggestion. Heat gun, solder gun, or sorry, yeah, heat gun, solder gun, Dremel, hot glue gun. My hot glue gun's my fixer upper. You know, if you're at a con and something falls off, yeah, I gotta tell this story because everybody's gotta hear it. My first con I went to was actually Dragon Con. With all the love in the world, I was like, I'm gonna go to a big con. That's my first con. And me and my 4 buddies decided we were all gonna go together. We put our kits together. Never wore them once before the con, which was like a gigantic mistake.
No,
If you're
it's
gonna
coming.
put a kit
Anyone in
together,
costumes know
yes.
how bad that
If you're gonna put a kit together, like seriously, it sounds stupid, but wear it around the house first. Because you gotta see what's gonna happen with the thing. We took 4 steps outside the door of the hotel room, and it would have been like a circus event. Because I took 2 steps, little pieces fell off. Next thing I knew, my knees are on the ground, my thighs are just hanging off the front of me. I look over at my buddy Jeff, his knees are on the ground, his chest plates are coming off the front of him, and I look at my buddy Charles, and everything's just falling off. And we just look at each other and we go, all right, we pick it all up, and we head back into the room, and we pull up the hot glue gun and everything, and we just started like fixing right then and there. So that, yeah, the hot glue gun at that point, I was like, thank goodness we all had hot glue guns to fix everything, because it became the quick fix this. You know,
You'd rather fix it at home.
Yes.
I find it a big
Don't
problem
do
with
it
that.
at the
I had that happen with, I did a costume from Hellboy 2, and the character had a beautiful red satin sash around her waist. I'm like, this is so pretty! And I tied it around my waist, and I walked around the home for 2 seconds, and the fabric was so slippery it didn't grip on itself, and just went kablunk and fell off. I'm like, okay, good thing I checked this now, because when you're at a con, most likely you won't have what you need to fix it. After a while, you learn from your mistakes, and you bring your pins and your
Velcro.
your Velcro and all the emergencies.
Yep.
Watch out, tape.
But yeah, duct tape. But sometimes you don't.
Safety
And
pins.
Yep.
yeah, you'd rather fix it at home under no pressure than when you're at a con and there's stuff you want to do and you want to go somewhere. Nobody wants to be holed up in their hotel room gluing things or sewing things. That's cool. A lot of us have been there, and it's not.
Yeah.
Although that is a good point too. If you have any kind of costume at all that's like involved at all, like, you know, like anyone here that wears, you know, a costume where if anything goes on your head, you want some kind of repair kit. You know, little small hot glue guns, you know, safety pins, duct tape, electrical black tape. It's all useful.
It's worth it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the little emergency kits are very helpful. I know you guys. There's magic. No. It's very, very helpful to have that. And really, just a little box like this will do it. They make tiny little glue guns. You can just plug them in the wall. You will definitely bless
A
yourself really.
small toolbox.
Yep.
a small toolbox that they sell for less than $5. You can put a lot of those
What?
glue guns and things in and have it, and it doesn't take up a lot of space.
Yeah, and,
But you can put all your parts in there you can think of.
and you'll be glad you have it, and your friends will think you're the savior because you will wind up, when they have, oh, I have something falling off. You're like, oh, well, guess what? And you pull out your hot glue gun, and then they're like, yes.
Or you can be like me, I have half my shop vac. That's what my daughter was looking at me laughing because I bought one of those big fancy schmancy ones. This is why I have a trailer on my car now, because I can't go anywhere without my repair, because you never know.
Yeah.
And I actually have enough now to I could build half a commando kit again, should we need to, should the problem arise.
That sounds like a challenge now.
It is, isn't it? I mean, like these guys keep saying somebody's going to break it on purpose just to see what
Yeah, crash tests. They're, at conventions, people get all excited, and they can run headfirst into you, or punch you in the nose, like what happened to you. Yeah, there's just awful things can happen. So be aware that somebody might just, or backhanded. I'm sorry about that. No, it wasn't me. People can run into you. It's a very uncontrolled environment at conventions a lot. So make sure that things are going to go flapping off, because they definitely can. Definitely can. People mean well, but sometimes they're running down the hall, not looking where they're going, so on and so forth, and bam.
Be a Jolly and they try to put guys out.
Actually, I'm laughing because our buddy David, again, same guy actually, he owns a Darth Vader costume down in Binghamton. And the first time he went to put it on to go to an event, I said to him, I said, wear a cup. And David said, what? I said, you want to wear a cup. He says, why? I said, because little kids are going to come up to you and go, Vader. Right into your body. He didn't believe me. First three steps he took, three kids went, Vader. Right into this one. And he looked at me and says, thank you. Yes, yeah. So if you're a male, you may want to think about that. Especially little kids, it's a big thing, but they don't realize what they're doing, and you're like, hello.
A mainstream character, not just Darth Vader, but anything that's popular these days. Like if you're doing like Spider-Man or anything, find a way to wear protection.
Captain
America, Batman.
You don't think that.
Kids can be great. I love seeing the reactions from kids.
Well, that's why we do this.
That's something that it's like you feel like you're Mickey at Disney World or something, because they don't see somebody with a job and hanging out, just doing their thing. They see the character, and there's something really, really magical about that. Seeing this little kid just be like, see, I think in the spring show, I'm not sure if the spring show or the last fall show, there was a Darth Vader.
Yeah.
A very imposing height, great costume. And this little kid in a Darth Vader Halloween costume walks up to him, and he's like this big, and they're taking pictures together, and it's just those kind of moments just define why you do what you do. It's so cute.
Some people and Mandalorians can agree with me on this. They run up to you, they go, hi Boba Fett, and sometimes someone will be scared and start crying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Then they'll run to a Jedi and they'll hide.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I actually did it. Yeah. Yeah. Didn't even do it. You just go
Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I got one, just a general one. When you're doing costuming, how do you have like special costumes for the summertime or when it's warm out there? Because I know that the heat can be quite an issue. I know that from.
Done with that.
I am too. So I can't.
Very
Not
done.
yet.
Very
Yeah,
done.
I have a Jawa that usually I only wear in the cold weather months, and then I have my Jedi and a Rebel Fleet Trooper that I usually wear in the hotter months.
A lot of the 501st members have multiple costumes that they can switch out.
That's a lot of reasons why a lot of the Mandalorians actually are both either, Mandalorians in either 501st or Rebel Legion or all three, because they do the exact same thing. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm working on an Imperial officer, so I'm not sweating to death in the summer.
You can wear the armor. Most of the guys can wear the armor a couple of hours, but after that, things start to dig or you'll have a malfunction. You still want a troop, so you switch into something that's a little easier.
And ladies' shoes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm very happy to be sitting down right now in 4-inch
Yeah.
heels and 2-inch platforms. That's something that you probably want to bring an alternate for. Make sure you take breaks, and especially if you're in armor, you can get dehydrated so fast.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't even realize You're running around and you're just, it is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Because I know I'm going to be looking at getting a get an outfit for my fan series. You know, that's going to be a lot lighter, especially if we're going to be shooting in the spring or the summer up this way.
Yeah.
Gotta have it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's why some of the guys like the '66 version of the Batman outfit so well, because it doesn't have the armor.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I guess like I'm not sure which one it was in, but I know Christian Bale didn't really turn his head very much in it. It was just this rubber.
No.
The wig is running away from me. Dumb boy.
I'm kind of like Jen in that regard. I am kind of dumb in that I don't change what I wear in the summer, and I probably should. I change the conveniences I use in the summer that I don't use in the winter. I actually have fans, and I've made an admission now that everything I make has fans in it. Like, I didn't turn my fans on today at all in my Mando kit or my TIE Pilot, but if it gets hot enough, the fans go on and the air starts moving. Because I got to do whatever I got to do to make it comfortable. We actually each have. I got one, and David now has one. You can actually buy vests. That you can
Cooling vests, yes.
Yeah, cooling vests you can stick ice packs in. Those have been like a saving grace. We do a big festival down by us. You probably know Speedy Fest. We go there 3 days. It's like 12-hour days, and it's like, you know, by the end of the day, because you know, yeah, there's no wind. It could be 90 degrees in the shade, and you're out there, and so your only saving grace is water, you know, a cooling vest and fans, keeping the air moving in the helmet. But I do it because, again, we get the reaction from the kids there. There's a lot of kids who go to Speedy Fest, and for me, that's why I take the risk, because I love seeing a kid coming up and just going, oh, it's awesome, you know, and just loving that, you know, and that's why I do it, you know. So I'm willing to, I guess, put it out there and take the risk of sweating my Katusha and basically lose 20 pounds every day.
You can also
great
make your own cooling vest.
Yes,
you can buy the gel packs at like Walmart or something, and you can put them in the costume where it's convenient for you and it doesn't show. Because some of the other pre-made ones, they're not, they won't conform to under some costumes.
Right, yeah.
So you can always make your own and have the pouches in it so that you can swap out.
Right, so when they cool off, they can get warm very quickly.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, very, very quickly. More questions from anybody? Very enthusiastic, yeah. No? Anybody else?
If you wanted to make something a little more form-fitting, like a female stormtrooper outfit, how would you go about doing that without making it a bunch of plating, but making a solid form? Would you use like plastic on yourself and then do a mold so you would have a starting area, or what would you do?
Should I tell her our little trick? Find an old t-shirt, put it on, duct tape yourself into it, then have somebody cut you out of it on
You'll
the side.
need 2 rolls of duct tape.
Yep. Yeah. And then just take that and put it, put the form back together, duct tape the side together, and now you have your body to work with. And it depends on how you want to do it. These guys do a lot of back forming. I'm not great at back forming, I'll be honest with it. I don't have the table to do it, and not the skills yet to do it. I'm working on it, but I'm not there yet. You could do back formed plates, or if you're working with the cincher, that's where you could actually take the form and heat the cincher up, small sections at a time, put it on your duct tape mannequin, and form it over the body. And
then you can hide the seams, you can make them seamless, and it'll look like it's sculpted out of one piece.
And then the other thing you can do too, almost like a Vodes here, if it's okay. I'm sorry, I just called you the wrong name. Artist. If it's not a big deal, you can layer the plates too. So like if you form one, you can stick one underneath that and form the next one, and then keep kind of layering it, almost like a samurai look to it, and it'll do the same thing. If you want it all one, my suggestion would be do little portions at a time. Form it to that part of the body, because you don't know what the plastic on the other side is going to do, so you want to form just that side and keep working with that side, and then work on the other side and just kind of keep shaping and molding it till it you know, and then take it off and put it on you and make sure it feels comfortable to you.
Okay.
Body armor is really, it's messy but fun stuff, you know. You want it to be comfortable, but you don't want it to be so restrictive that you can't function in it, and that's a big thing. You know, the first set of Mando armor I made, I was like, this stuff's cool, you know, and I was like all set, and then I got in it and I realized I couldn't even go like this because it was so flat out here, I couldn't even cross my arms. So I was like, well, that was a bad idea. So my next set I made sure those came in so I could actually fold my arms in front of me. So it's the little things, you know, like I said before, to put it on beforehand, make sure it feels good. But that would be my suggestion, make what they call the duct tape mold. Just t-shirt you don't care about, duct tape it yourself. It sounds weird and hokey and corny, but it's the cheapest, quickest way to make a mannequin of
You
yourself.
can get duct tape at Big Lots or Ollie's.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be the good, great stuff. It can be the cheap dollar stuff as long as it will conform and keep that shirt.
You'll need about 2 rolls.
Yep.
So,
I've done that.
talk about things fitting and working. Kind of reminds me of when I used to do some anime costumes, and friends of mine that would do anime costumes. You get some beautiful, incredible character designs, but they can be the least logical things in the world. And there can be these incredible collars standing 3 feet tall, and blue pigtails shooting out 6 feet in the air, and just hair that does not work, costumes that do not work. And a lot of that you have to just experiment with. Really the thing with doing a costume like an anime costume or a video game costume, you get these wild styles, is it's all kind of grounded in reality. And a lot of people who wind up doing these things sort of go, well, it could be perfect down to the detail, but it could never work. Maybe I'll make some small adjustments, and then it's still generally the same look, same character, and you pull off the character, but I can sit down. You know, things like that can be very, very nice. And also looking at saying that the vacuum forming is something that's kind of above what you want to do right now. What you can do is just limited by what you experiment with. Nobody goes into it knowing how to make full Mando armor. Nobody comes into it knowing how to wire things. Nobody really knows. I didn't even know how to sew when I started. Still not that great at it, but one thing, you just have to kind of jump into it and experiment with it, saying, well, I can't make that out of wood. Well, why not? I'll try. And if you screw up, you screw up. That's the best part of it, is that you give yourself the time to work through it. You can figure out anything. I never thought I'd figure out how to rewire a toy with wire to make it go out. I didn't even think about doing that coming into it. I'm like, well, I'll get the toy and paint it white and done. But then you start thinking, well, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. And that's where you just keep growing. You try to learn something new from every costume. That's kind of my hope. Is that every costume you do, you pick up something new, something weird, something different. And keep challenging yourself, too. That's where you're going to figure out how far you can go. Like, I look at these armor pieces, and I'm like, oh my god, wow. All right, But I'm like, okay, there's steps to it. You guys didn't wake up and all of a sudden be these awesome epic Star Wars guys.
I hadn't touched the power in my life until I did this.
But you have to work yourself up to it, and it's definitely not something to be discouraged about, something to look forward to, developing those skills. These guys are awesome.
And by making the armor yourself, you know it's going to fit you. And if you try it on and it's like, oh, this is not letting me move my arm, you can always custom make it to fit you and be functional.
That's where I kind of, in some ways, curse out eBay with all the love in the world. Because people go out and say, oh, here's Stormtrooper armor, or here's Mando armor on eBay. And people go, oh, I'm going to go buy that for X amount of thousands of dollars. And I'm like, oh, man, this is really ugly. Because usually what happens is that person formed it to their body. It looks spectacular on them. And then that person gets it home and they go, oh, it doesn't look so good on me. That's because it was made for that person, So when we make armor, we're very much customizing it to ourselves. We're working with it, manipulating it, trying to make it look right on us. I mean, we joke around about being the fat teddy bears of the Mandalorian mercs because we have things to deal with as overweight people that others don't, and like our belly plates, I think all of us have done this now. The belly plates, the plates on the bottom there, for somebody who's overweight, it's the biggest pain in the chest because you can't make it go straight up because your belly actually makes it stick up like a little arrow straight up in the air. So one of the things, there's 2 things we've all learned to do. We take the top of the belly plate and bend it in so it doesn't make us look fat anymore. And then the other thing we do too, and we were just talking with him about it, is Padding. Yeah, putting padding in, and then
replace that one.
Yep, and then buttons, or putting
Snaps.
snaps. Thank you.
Finished yet.
And what it does is when you put a snap in, this is the other thing that's the trick to armor. Don't let the armor go to you. Bring the stuff you got on to the armor. Because if you put the snaps in, what it does is it pulls the vest out to the armor and fills it out. So it doesn't look like you're sticking out. Now the vest is filling in the gap, and you're like, hey, look at that. I had a buddy, Ian, who, these guys know Ian. Ian drove me nuts. He's like, put snaps on it, put snaps on it, put snaps on it. I was like, no, I don't know how to do snaps. It was just like my biggest fear in the world. I was going to break something with my snaps. And I was finally, I broke down. I'm like, all right, fine, I'm going to do snaps. I was scared I was going to ruin my wife's vest because she made my vest. And it was actually really easy. Read the direction, and snaps are really simple to do. And I put them on, and I put the plates on. I was like, wow, look at that. I'm no longer a fat man, do I look great? It's amazing. Listen to the people around you, too. I mean, it sounds, you're going to fight that person and say, what do they know? They're usually right. They're usually right if they give any advice.
Yeah.
Listen, because you might be stubborn, and you might think you know in the long run. And that's where I've always made my mistakes. I've been stubborn and said, no. 2 years later, I'm doing it again. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing it with their suggestions. So, that's the one thing about armor we've learned is you gotta, every body type is different. Forming it to yourself is a big thing. There's no stock answer to armor.
And once you start, you're never going to stop. It's a continuing battle.
Yeah.
And you'll think of new ideas, you want to start a new costume.
It changes the whole dynamic. You'll innocently walk into a movie and be like, yay, movie, and you walk out like, I want to do this costume and this costume, and it flips something in your brain. It's awful.
Like a switch.
It's great. You're mentioning resources around you. Just YouTube has thousands and thousands of tutorials that are so helpful. All over forums. If you do a little bit of digging, you can find incredible
The internet is your
stuff.
greatest resource.
It is your best friend. Your best friend. And if you're doing something, do a tutorial. If you think you found a neat way to do something, throw a tutorial up online. It might help somebody out that's curious about what you're doing or what you're going to be doing. If you found a great little trick, do it. I put up my little Tron disc thing. I just thought, kind of easy way. I've seen some ways where people, they do like an LED ring on the outside, like they took the disc off. Like, well, mine's just sitting on my back the whole time, so slightly lazier version. But it works, and just searching around you can find some incredible stuff. People have done incredible things. Everybody's seen the full Gundam costumes, everybody's seen the full Transformers costumes and gone, I don't know how I'd ever start that. So.
To actually transform when they go down on the
car.
It's like,
Are you thinking about the same Bumblebee I'm thinking of?
Yes, Bumblebee.
Man.
Oh my god. Okay, sorry.
No, I think one of the comments was like,
cheap
you do
armor
birthday
trick
parties?
too. Depending on what you're doing. I've seen guys actually make the armor out of cardboard. And then they fiberglass the cardboard.
Ooh.
And it works great because once the cardboard gets soaked in with that fiberglass, it's solid. It's not gonna move on you. It's a solid piece of whatever. I mean, it depends on what you're doing. We don't do that only because they never did it on George Lucas's sets. But I've helped other people do that, and it's a really cool, cheap way to do armor. And you can sand it down so that it's nice and smooth too, and it has that armor texture to it. It's a great, easy, simple, cheap way to go about making cardboard armor, basically, but that won't look cardboard at all.
Okay. I have another question. For females and making armor, padding the sensitive upper areas of your body, how would you really go about that without making it too bulky and changing the whole shape of the armor?
I don't think too many women in the Mercs have problems with that, because usually we, like with our outfits, we have flight suits, and then we have the vest on itself. They usually wear like an Under Armour shirt, to help wick the sweat away. So between those 3 layers, there's a decent amount of padding right there, because usually, the flight suit is obviously, cotton, and then the vest itself, you can use different materials, but a lot of times it's usually a nice, thick, heavy-duty material to be able to handle the weight of the armor. So usually padding's not really an issue.
Okay.
I would imagine though, like what you were saying earlier with Ian's officer, shoulder, you grab some shoulder pads out of some old shirts. You can just trim those out, you can add them into the vest to give yourself some more comfort. You know, again, as Bob pointed on, once you make it, toss everything on and say, okay, what hurts, what feels weird, what, you know, where's this gonna go? And then you'll get a better, once you actually get the outfit on is when you're gonna notice little tweaks here and there. That's why, you know, he said, costuming is never ending.
There's always
finished.
adjustments.
Okay.
Like my boyfriend wears clone armor, and when he walked, the knee piece was always getting knocked off. So we took a, what they use for kneeling on for doing construction work. They strap on, and to attach the knee plate to it, magnets. Earth magnets.
Magnets are your friends.
Sorry.
And they stick to the knee part because of the magnets. It doesn't flop around. It stays where it needs to. And when he walks, it doesn't pop off anymore.
Going back to the sensitive boob armor subject, the best way I can explain it is the boob armor shouldn't actually be holding you up.
No.
I think a lot of
Doesn't work
females
like
think
that.
that it's actually cupping and holding, and I can say this because I'm married. That's not the goal. Actually, you want to give the illusion of the boob armor without it actually supporting you. There should be undergarments underneath supporting you. The armor's just there to enhance the boobage, as it were.
Right.
Oh,
Does that
okay.
make sense?
You
Makes
should
sense?
be wearing
I
a
think I knew
very
where you were
good,
going with that question. So.
Yes.
good supportive bra underneath.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay.
And Under
Your
Armour.
friend.
Yeah.
It'll just moisture away.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
And I think Walmart has the Under Armour on sale right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I got a punch my Under Armour. Because it
There you
didn't
go.
need to be Under Armour
Right.
level.
The
It was
Under
like
Armour
just that
is
protective
like
layer.
$50 a piece.
Right.
And you can get the stuff at Walmart for $10 a piece.
Right.
And it does the same job.
Right. It's what you need for a costume level. Yeah, definitely.
I think that's pretty much it then, but, again, I mean, you know, if anybody else has questions, every single, you know, group here obviously has websites, forums, you know,
Here if you wanna
there's
grab it.
cards. And I mean, don't be afraid to go on and ask questions. There, in my opinion, there is never a dumb question. It's just, it seems that way because it, you know, because you're asking it, you're new, but a million people have come and asked it before. And I mean, that's part of being a costumer is you have to be willing to give your experience to other people. So.
Amen to that. It's important to share, I think. I
Absolutely.
know some people wouldn't say how they did certain things. And I'm like, well, that's not fair. You know, there's more people who want to be into it. So definitely be open and communicative. That's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vivian.
Think we'll leave it?
Thanks, everybody.
So we're going to check out the communications right up here. See if we can figure
Gotta go get our
out.
art.
I think we're going to need new batteries soon.
Renee wants a picture of us, by the way.
Renee does?
She just sent me a picture of